Did the thief on the cross go to heaven when he died? There's a lot of controversy concerning what happened to the thief after the cross. This is because the thief is asking Jesus to receive him when he comes in his kingdom, and Jesus turns to the thief and then says, "Truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." That's how most people read it. And naturally, when they read it, they say, "Oh, that means today he's going to heaven, because paradise is heaven." And that's true, but the problem is Jesus didn't go to heaven that day. He went down to Hades, or Sheol as it's known in the Old Testament. So we have two different views. One view is Jesus went to heaven with the thief when he died, but that's not true because he went to Sheol, so that view's out. The second view is paradise means Abrahams Bosom, which was the good part of Sheol. But that doesn't work either because paradise is exclusively used to refer to heaven. But there's a third option. This option is maybe that's not what this is saying at all. These punctuations you see, like that comma, those are not in the original text. These verse divisions, the chapter divisions, are not in the text either. This very often leaves Christians confused or misunderstanding of what passages are talking about because we read individual verses as, islands very often when we should not read them like that. What if, instead of it saying, "Truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise," it said, "Truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise"? What if "Truly, I say to you, today" is what it's talking about, rather than "Truly, I say to you, today"? Adds a different meaning, doesn't it? It changes it from something that's going to happen today to something that's going to happen in the future, which honestly would track better with the thinking and the whole story because the thief is specifically asking Jesus to remember him when he comes in his kingdom. So Jesus is telling the thief that, hey, I'm going to be with you when you enter paradise, when I come in the kingdom like you were asking. Some people say the kingdoms come in some way or another because we are all part of the kingdom. So that's why the kingdom is filling the earth. And some people say, no, the real kingdom doesn't come until Christ physically comes back in the future. Now I'd say both are right at the same time because I hold that the kingdom came in 70 AD when Christ returned. And that's when every Old Testament saint was resurrected, taken out of Sheol, out of Hades. That's why Jesus went to minister to them in the first place, to encourage them until he was going to come back for them. Your objection may be, well, many times in Luke, Jesus says, "Truly I say to you," and then says something after that. So that "truly I say to you" is one thought, and then he goes on to something else that, backs up that thought. But he's just making that as like an emphasis on the thought that he says after. And that is true. But the thing we have to remember is these people were inspired by the same God that wrote the Old Testament as well. We have to wrestle with the Old Testament texts and the new ones, especially when the authors of the New Testament use like 90% of the grammar from the Old Testament, like Luke did when he uses the Septuagint. His grammar is like 90% of it is the same as what is used in the Septuagint. If you don't know what the Septuagint is, it's the Greek version of the Old Testament. And warning, this is going to be a bright white screen, so be prepared for that. Don't want to blind you. This little paper written by Wilson Peroshi is basically talking about the significance of a comma. He goes through an analysis of Luke 23:43. And part of what he brings up is the fact that Deuteronomy has that same type of phrasing. The "I declare to you today, I command to you today," that same thing that Jesus used on the cross when he was talking to the thief, when he says, "Truly I say to you today," just one example. And you also get, 90% of Luke's vocabulary is from the Septuagint here as well. I definitely recommend looking at this because it's very interesting, even if you don't agree. But I think this view actually holds more water than the other two, because the other two just don't make any sense with the story of Scripture. And I'm gonna be honest, it's bothered me for a while because that view of Abraham's bosom being paradise, I was never comfortable with it. I always thought it didn't make any sense with Scripture because, in multiple times in Scripture, paradise is always referred to the kingdom of heaven where Christ is. So why would Sheol and Hades, the place where you're separated from God, even if it's the good side of Hades, why would that be a paradise? You're not in the presence of God. That never made any sense to me, but that's something that I was taught and I just kind of held to because it made more sense than the other view of him being with Jesus in heaven immediately, because Jesus clearly went to Sheol that day, not heaven. This isn't one of those, oh, Jesus is God, so when he said that he meant God the Father. No, that doesn't make any sense either. We can't just butcher the text to make it fit like that. We have to use the text in how it was written and see what makes the most sense that way. Jesus always makes a clear distinction between he and the Father, even though he also makes a distinction to say that they are one as well. But this isn't a video on the Trinity, so let's stay on topic. And I also recommend a video by Zach Davis. He was the one that actually started me on this journey. He just released it like a day ago or so, and I definitely recommend checking it out. Here's his channel, and here's the video I'm talking about specifically. Like I said, definitely check that out. Make sure to check out this thing as well, because it was also very good. But thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to give it a like if you enjoyed it as well. And let me know if there's something that I may have missed or I overlooked, or what your thoughts are on the whole thing as well. Thanks for watching again. God bless.